Greetings, Dragon Beals. I hope y'all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel, another Hazbin Hotel review. This time I'm going to go over episode 3, Scrambled Eggs. This one was a good one, and be warned, there will be some spoilers for it. So without further ado, let's begin. So this episode kicks off with Charlie trying to get everything ready for Sir Pentious as a celebration for him being the next hotel guest to come in. And of course, Vaggie is a little concerned of how this is going to go down, especially when Sir Pentious comes rolling in with his latest gizmo. And on the top of that, purchasing Carmine's prices. However, Sir Pentious kind of has a verified point when he says everyone's being too nice and gets a little suspicious. I mean, maybe it's a little too much, but you have to admit he kind of has some right to it, considering that this is hell and people kind of beat the crap out of each other. So I'd say that it's a pretty verified suspicion on his part. Vaggie tries to assure him and of course decides to lay some ground rules. No weapons as well as no egg boys. Sir Pentious wasn't exactly too fond of the idea, but if he wanted to show how serious he was of being redeemed, he had to let them go. Vaggie enlists Alistair's help in trying to get rid of the egg boys so they wouldn't get too out of hand with the hotel's mission. He takes them, and then it was later revealed that he has a special Overlord meeting going on. While that was happening, Vaggie, Charlie, and the rest of the crew decide to do some trust exercises, the first one being trust falls. And Charlie enlists Vaggie to be in charge of the whole thing because, after all, Charlie is too trusting of everyone. Gotta give props for Charlie to actually know her shortcomings. So, the first one was trust falls, as I said before. Charlie and Angel Dust went pretty well. With Sir Pentious, it definitely was well thought out, and speaks volumes of how everyone trusts him so well, despite of how he was in the previous episode. So, when that didn't seem to work when it came to Nifty, however, this is where Angel Dust steps in to give a suggestion on his trust exercise. Meanwhile, Alistair goes with the Egg Boys to actually go to a meeting, which wasn't easy because they kept bugging him 6 ways to Sunday. Then we are soon introduced to Zestial, one of the oldest overlords in Hazbin Hotel, and it seems to have drawn a very strong presence because everyone around them was freaking out big time. So, of course, Zestial questions Alistair, wondering what he's been up to all this time, especially considering that Alistair disappeared for 7 whole years. Alistair tries to brush this off, clearly trying to hide something. Knowing him, he probably does. So the two of them manage to reach Carmilla Carmine, which is where the Overlord meeting was being held, and we soon see the other Overlords, and we are introduced to Carmilla Carmine. Carmilla means well, and you can tell through her voice and her actions she's someone who takes her job seriously, as well as the safety of the others demons that they have in place, especially when it came to the exorcists. However, things definitely take an interesting turn when Velvet soon arrives, and much to everyone's shock and dismay, they come across a decapitated Angel head. Surprised, Carmilla inquires where they got it, and Velvet says that she simply found it, along with the boys. So she seems interested in the idea that these guys have a weakness and wants nothing more than to go with them. But, of course, Zestial warns that if they try to do a war and pick a fight with Heaven, this could definitely end bad for everyone. Everyone was starting to agree, but of course, Velvet noticed that Carmilla was acting off and decides to go poking for a fight. This triggers the first song, Respectless, and man does it carry a beat, which I will talk about later. After their rap battle, Carmilla called off a meeting, and everyone dispersed. However, Frank, who joined in on the meeting, unwitting to everyone else, is tasked by Alistair to spy on Zestial and Carmilla. While that is happening, Vaggie is immediately shocked by the fact of where Angel has taken them, and it makes Charlie super uncomfortable. And of course, they decided to see what other trust exercise they could do. So Vaggie does her form of trust exercise, which is apparently fighting, which didn't seem to sit well with others, especially considering that both Angel and Serpentius were practically thrown from the building they were on, Husk having to actually sneak away as best as he could. Feeling like there was nothing working, Charlie and Vaggie gave some frustrated words, and then they decide to walk off and end the trust exercise in general. Poor Vaggie was just being upset that she didn't seem to be working out in the trust exercises as much as she hoped. Meanwhile, Carmilla was also having her own doubts and frustrations of how well the meeting went. Zestial noticed this and asks a question. Not too long before, we get another song from her and Vaggie with Whatever It Takes, discussing about how Carmilla killed an angel, while with Vaggie it was mostly just trying to be the good partner that Charlie needed in their time of need. Finally, the episode ends where Alistair learns from Frank that Carmilla killed an angel, and then with Charlie and crew, they found that Vaggie's trust exercise did help in terms of renewing their kind of bond. This was a very interesting episode that thus ends with Serpentius finally getting his egg boys back and settling in for the night, with Frank dropping off a fact, even though he was threatened by Alistair not to tell anyone, that Carmine killed an angel. Thankfully though, Serpentius didn't believe it at the time, so it ends with a very sweet and wholesome moment between Serpentius and the Egg Boys. This was another good episode provided by Season 1. It does give us a nice introduction to the politics of Hazbin Hotel, as well as introducing us to some of the Overlords, some that have yet to be named. And then of course with Carmilla, she definitely intrigues me the most because of the fact that while she appears cutthroat and intimidating, she cares a lot about the people she wants to help whenever possible, even her own souls that she owns. Her fight with Velvet was definitely interesting to see, as well as just that rap battle they had. Then of course, there is Zestial, who gives an air of mystery and wants me to learn more about his character, and to see whether or not he would be a great ally to Charlie and her cause. And of course, he seems to be one of the few Overlords that can be a voice of reason, or I guess in some ways a little bit more reasonable. As for the other plot, the one where they're trying to do the trust exercise, I'd say it's decent. The one with Angel with the bonds may have been a little much, but at the same time, it does fit into Angel's character and what was trying to accomplish. It is admirable to see a little bit of friction between Vaggie and Charlie, and I also like of how they try to address the problem in the healthiest way possible, and that ironically enough, that their efforts seem to have improved a bit. They still have a ways to go, but at least they are trying to get the team to actually be put together. And of course, the songs were pretty well put out, and I feel like if we had more of these shenanigans later in Season 2, I think we would be so happy. I mean, I know I would definitely will be intrigued with Charlie's attempts and seeing more of her character develop. For the MVP characters, I think it should go to Zestial, Carmilla, and Vaggie for very different reasons. For Carmilla, I like of how she comes across as a bit cutthroat, but you definitely see that right away. She has some redeeming qualities. She cares about everyone. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of rehashing this a little. I do like her design. It definitely fits into the concept that she is a fighter in some aspect, and that don't let that ballerina shoes fool you. I'm pretty sure they are dangerous than they look. And then of course with Zestial, I like the air of mystery that this guy has. But not only that, but I also like his intelligence, especially when he says that they should figure out what needs to be done before they go ahead and start an all-out battle with the Exorcist, because that would be insane.
All of hell for daring and uprising. It could happen.
And then I'd like to say with Vaggie, she definitely did a decent job of trying to help Charlie out whenever possible. And in some ways, the last trust exercise she pulled off did manage to help them at least bond a little bit more. The boys seem to get a little laugh out of that deal, and it definitely shows that while with Vaggie may be extreme, she really tries to be the really good girlfriend for Charlie, and shows that she is a real supporter for Charlie's dream. Okay, twice in a row we've been treated with rap battles. First with Vox and Alistair, and now we have it with Carmilla and Velvet. Respectless mostly embodies more of Velvet's character. As I said before, she's someone who doesn't care what anyone thinks. She likes to lay down the law whenever possible and throw savage burns left and right. And she was not even going as far as practically insulting Carmilla, even though Carmilla could probably slice her in two, if possible, with her weaponry. So it definitely embodies more of a story going on as the two kind of duke out their approaches and their styles. With Carmilla, she is definitely more reserved, wanting nothing more to actually save others. And I have to admit, these parts are practically my favorite in the song.
You've got it twisted. I'm not the one who needs a new attitude. Maybe you missed it, but I'm that hashtag bitch, and I will do nothing less than what I please. Woo! I'm the backbone of the vase. Mad that I acted respect.
I think if there was one thing I didn't like in the episode Scrambled Eggs, it would be whatever it takes. I just felt like it kind of killed the song ballad forms of Vaggie and Carmilla, though they kind of set up a parallel with how these two are honorable and willing to risk everything. There was just something about it that kind of killed the episode in terms of mood and what we're trying to digest in the entire episode in general. I just felt like this was one song they could have lived without, and if they put in more like an hour, I'm pretty sure someone could have taken the spotlight and done something else with it in general. And so these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think is going to happen next in Hazbin Hotel? What do you think of this episode in general? And do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Vio signing off.